And now to talk about our modular week, let's turn it over to Martin Anderson Klutz, a principal solutions engineer at Acquia and a maintainer of a number of Drupal modules and recipes of his own. Before we dive in, Martin, where are you joining us from?
I am joining you from Vienna for DrupalCon Europe.
It's good to hear. So, what do you have for us this week for modular week?
Thanks, Nick. Have you ever wanted to post and manage site-wide alerts on your Drupal website? There's a module for that. It's called Site-Wide Alert, and it was created in October of 2019 by Chris Snyder of Phase 2. It has 2.2.1 and 3.0.1 versions available, the latter of which works with Drupal 10.3 and 11. It is actively maintained and has both security and test coverage. And it has 25 open issues, 9 of which are bugs against the 3.x branch, which is all pretty good considering it's officially in use by 4,866 sites, according to Drupal.org. Now, with the module installed, you can create site wide alerts as a new entity type. By default, alerts are displayed at the top of the page site wide, regardless of theme, but there is an option to exclude admin pages and an optional submodule, which will render the alerts in a block that you can place in a specific place that might better meet the needs of your particular site. There is also an option to specify that an alert should only be shown on specific pages and can be configured to be shown and hidden at specific times. It's worth mentioning that alerts are dynamically inserted into the pages by front end code that checks a custom endpoint on a configurable schedule, so new alerts can be displayed without waiting for a new page load. This also means that changes to the alerts won't invalidate the cached versions of your site pages. You can also configure a set of styles, effectively CSS classes, that can be applied to your alerts. Site wide alerts are also fieldable and themable, so you can have virtually unlimited ability to tailor them to the specific needs of your site. A while back, I made my own module for implementing alerts called Alerts, but it lacks a number of important features available in this module, particularly dynamically loading alerts as they're published or changed. I also thought that site-wide alerts would be interesting to talk about today because one of our guests, Dave Pickett, published his own companion project called USWDS Alert that aligns the display of the alerts with the USWDS design system. So, Dave, thank you for contributing that back to the community. And what can you tell us about your experience using site-wide alerts?
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, "Wow, this is like the perfect module because I it's one of the few things that I could actually talk about." So I thought it was magic, but thank you for being intentional. Yeah, so this is a project that we've been working on at Civic Actions, trying to model, Drupal contrib first. So I believe our fearless leader Steve Wirt, in terms of the module maintainer, was actually on this very podcast talking about this effort. So we have a number of client websites that we work for that are government websites and that use site-wide alert or could use site-wide alert, and we wanted a way to make it very simple for that to adopt the US web design system, kind of style for the front end presentation of those alerts. And so that's been an ongoing internal initiative that would then, also show up on client sites once we've kind of got that. It's still in the works, and of course always looking for more people to help out and contribute. So
I guess one question I have is it configurable, the dismissal piece? Because a lot of clients require some sort of cookie to set to dismiss it and some kind of logic to kind of invalidate the dismissal if it's a new alert. Does it kind of handle that piece as well, or do you need something else on top
So,
of it?
yeah, at least according to the product page, the answer to both questions is yes. You can optionally configure them to be dismissible, and then there does seem to be a capability where if somebody has dismissed an alert as on the back end, you can sort of refresh that so that people will see those alerts again.
Okay. I'll have to check this out because this is a very common feature request and I've implemented it 17 different ways over the years. And if there's just an off the shelf way to do it, I mean, the only thing I would have to really dig into, I feel like, aside from the feature set, is kind of the front end piece of it. If it's pulling kind of frequently, that could be, or if there's a bunch of them pulling frequently, that could be kind of a performance issue. But you could probably cache that endpoint a lot easier than you can cache the whole page. So I think it's a clever way to do it.
Yeah, exactly, and it's I noticed that you can set the interval at which it will pull, so you could say I think the default it looks like is 15 seconds, but you could increase that or shorten that depending on the level of urgency you expect your site-wide alerts to have, I suppose.
Yeah, 15 seconds feels very, very often. I mean, the truth it's one of this is one of those this is something I'd love to solve. This is one of those struggles. When you need those alerts, many times you need them immediately, right? But checking every 15 seconds for every single user on the site for years on end for the 2 times a year you need that is a huge amount of resources to be using. So I would have to think about that.
I
Um,
think this all depends on the nature of the site and the nature of the alerts
yeah, that's true. Some
on
sites
that
need alerts
dependency,
far more
right?
often.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering if that polling is something that you can turn on and off. So if you have an alert, you then turn it on, or is it just these ideas? It's polling all the time, but like Nick mentioned that 2 or 3 times a year. Certainly, you wouldn't want
Yeah,
to be polling if you're using alerts twice a year.
yeah,
Yeah, it's tough. I'm pretty sure it's pull, whereas I feel like what you're describing, Steven, almost has more of like a push
yeah.
style thing where it's basically saying it's not actively checking, and so you just wanna be able to sort of, like, push it out to them.
Almost needs a webhook or something, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, if this thing changes, send this notification out." And but I mean, it's not, that doesn't work exactly. But yeah, something to think about.
I mean, I will say I've talked to higher ed institutions who wanted site-wide alerts, and one of the examples that they spoke of was, like, an active shooter drill, which, you know, a higher ed institution, to your point, may not need alerts very often. I think the other example that they cited was, like, maybe one of the buildings had lost power, so to let people know to go to other places, which obviously is gonna be much less urgent. But you can see where, in that kind of a circumstance, you would definitely wanna make sure people had the information as quickly as possible, so
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
absolutely true. Go
I
ahead.
was going to say from a design perspective, this is something we definitely talk about with clients, right? How to use alerts effectively. And one of those considerations is using them only for things that are actually kind of emergency issues. But, if government agency might have locations all around the country in different time zones that when something happens, you need that person to be able to put that alert up, and have it go up without having to do any sort of additional release or anything like that because, yeah, an hour is too long. 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, right, is fine, but yeah, those minutes do really start adding up, and whether that's, a weather event or, a security event, it's important.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can easily, especially if you can configure that, you can also probably pretty easily throw Cloudflare in front of it to help prevent, like, have Cloudflare invalidate. Even if you have Cloudflare invalidate every 30 seconds and you're requesting every 15 seconds, that'll always be cached in Cloudflare except for one hit. So
Hmm.
you're still getting that amount of time. You're still doing the round trip, but the CDN is kind of handling the brunt of that load. So it's definitely something to consider. As always, Martin, you've managed to find a very on topic module of the week. I appreciate your effort. If people wanted to connect or suggest a module of the week, what's the best way for them to do that?
always happy to have lively discussions about potential candidates or past modules of the week in the Talking Drupal channel of Drupal Slack, or folks can find me as Manclue on all the Drupal and social channels.
Thank you so much, Martin.
Alright.
Enjoy DrupalCon